Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Super Paranormal Chronicles. And today I am delighted to have with me an author, an editor, and publisher, Cyn Shrader Hill. I hope I said that correct, Cyn, but welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this, and I appreciate you.
You are most welcome. And like I say, the objective of the exercise is to get as many different people on as many different subjects as we can. So the fact that what we're going to be talking about tonight, and I'm not going to give away any spoilers, I think it's going to really help some of the listeners moving forward. So before we go into the reason why we're here, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, please, just for the listeners?
Sure. I am from southern Middle Tennessee. I swore when I was 18 I was never coming back, yet here I am back in southern Middle Tennessee in the same county. So I live about 15 minutes from where I was born. And
Oh, wow.
yes, so there's stories there. And so I am late to get to the game as for paranormal investigating. I knew I wanted to be on a team. I knew I wanted a team. I just didn't know how to go about it. And I was very interested in all of the shows that were on the TV. I found out after getting into it, paranormal investigating is not like the shows on TV.
You're not wrong there.
And I have enjoyed it though. And I've only been investigating since 2013. I've been to many, many, many haunted locations since I was 12 years old and loved every minute of it. I love to be scared. I love horror movies. I loved it. My favorite bedtime story was we lived in my grandmother's house growing up. My mom, dad, and 3 kids, and my grandmother. I had to sleep with my grandmother. And every night I would bother her to tell me my bedtime story. And she'd say, I just told you last night. And I'd say, please, 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 please tell it to me again. And I would not shut up until she did. But it was about my great uncle that got scared one night on his way home in the early 1900s on horseback. And it always ended in boo, now go to bed. So I've been liking that jump scare since I was little. And I finally got investigating when I was in 2013. A team taught me how. And the next year I formed Elk Valley Paranormal. And here I am.
And you mentioned something really important then about a team taught you what to do.
Yes.
Because there's so many teams out there that just go, right, we're going to go and hunt for ghosts.
No.
And for people to call themselves ghost hunters actually annoys me, because obviously we're paranormal investigators and there's a big difference between the two.
And researchers. So I've become
100%.
a researcher as well. I didn't know that in the beginning. I didn't know that you should try and get history of a location and history of the families in that location and the property and so many things that you need to know before you go. And some places are actually dangerous if you don't know anything about them. So it's just
I'm the same as you. I love my history. I had a third great grandfather that fought in Waterloo and stuff like that. So I love my history. So I'm exactly the same as you, where I will go and get as much research done on the property and on the families before we investigate. Because if a name pops up, and it's relevant, it proves something.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And you never know. A lot of what we get, we always have a questionnaire for a person to fill out before we come to the house. And when 2020 hit, we actually started doing Zoom calls to talk to people. And what I did mostly in 2020 and on has been teaching people how to cleanse their homes and lighten up their space and uh, make themselves safe. by either meditating or prayers or whatever that person believes in, to add to their army, really, of protection. So that's very important, to be safe going into something. And I never knew any of this. I just wanted to go and be at all these haunted locations and be scared and have things jump out at me. But that really doesn't happen. It's not
Yeah,
like it's not like the
no,
haunted houses on Halloween.
no, exactly. And a lot of people do think that it's exactly like TV, where you get a spirit, you get a demon, you get entities like every week. But most of
Yes,
the time, it's 8 hours of sat in the dark talking to yourself.
exactly. Trying to get any response you
Yeah,
can get, a knock on the wall, or a whisper, or maybe they'll pull my hair, or anything like that. But a lot of times we get nothing.
yeah,
We sit
exactly.
for hours and get nothing, and it doesn't stop
And
us from going back, though.
no, it doesn't. You're right. And what's quite funny as well. Not only do you attend a location and go through the 6 or 8 hours, but then you sit at home reviewing all the evidence. So you're going through it again and again. So
Yes,
that 8 hours can be 24, 36 hours by the time you're finished.
depending on how many pieces of equipment you have and are using. Yes. So you might have 3 recorders going, 4 cameras. I mean, I just have I had when I started, I was using 1 recorder and my spirit box, and I had a camera, just a regular snap and shoot camera. And then I got a video camera, and just added as I went. But first starting out, what I found over the years is, when I go somewhere, I want to be protected and be in the right mindset before I go in. Have my recorder and a flashlight, and I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
the bare minimum. And like,
Yes.
I know in the last year, me and my colleague have probably spent between 6 and 10 grand on cameras and audio equipment and gadgets to play with. But yeah, sort of like, what else can you spend your money on? Beer? Yeah,
Right. But
yeah.
it's a
So
very expensive hobby.
it is, and people don't realise that.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So from creating EVP, the group or the team, how did that transcend into you becoming an author?
I actually started editing for my friend, who is a psychic medium. He has become my very best friend, and he had he was working on books. We had both sent in a couple of stories for Till Gray's book, Shades of Angels. I believe that was the one. I have a picture, a photo in one of her books, and then 4 stories in another one. And that's really how I got started. I just was writing short stories of things that had happened to me, my team, my friends, things they were telling me. And I I was working on Mark's book editing, and he asked me, "When are you going to get your book out?" I hadn't even talked to him about my book, but he's a psychic medium, so I think he kind of knew. But I said,
Guess so.
I don't know. I'm not sure." He goes, "It's time. Get yours out there." And so he gave me the little kick I needed. But the book I was wanting to get out, I didn't know how to do it. So I put out short stories of my investigations that have happened around this area, mostly in this county. So out of 23 stories, 18 of them are in this county.
Oh, cool.
And from what I've experienced, my bedtime story is in it. Just different things like that. My co-founder and one of the girls on my team had a couple of stories in it, and we just went from there. My second book was a fiction because we just wanted to get a fiction book out there. But that's the only fiction book I have. My third book was supposed to be my first one.
Right.
And I finally figured out what I wanted to do. So it was all of the audio I had caught at my favorite investigations over the years. And again, this is only since 2013, so it's not like it's 100 years of voices. It's just a very short time. But they were the most important to me, and I put them in the book, wrote stories, had a chapter on each location and the EVPs I'd gotten. And then the person reading the book or Kindle can go to elkvalleyparanormal.com to the evidence section and actually listen to all of the EVPs that are in that book.
That's pretty cool. And that kind of brings us nicely onto why we're here tonight, because you're going to enlighten us all about EVPs. So for anybody that doesn't know, electric voice phenomena. So what made you want to specialize in EVPs?
My cousin, now this is before I was on a team, my cousin was having a little problem in her art studio, and she got a team to come down from McMinnville, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours away from us. And I found out after the fact, and I got the same team to come down and investigate my mom and dad's old store, because I'd lost my dad in 2001, the same month of 9/11, so the 27th of September. And I was a daddy's girl. So over the years, I was looking for signs from him and just would not get them, would not. And I think I wanted them so badly that I just was trying too hard. They came and investigated the old store. My husband had cleaned it out. The utilities had been off for a couple of years, and nothing was on. So this old building was from the 1800s. Street level now was actually second story then. So the what was our basement when my mom and dad had the store was first level in the late 1800s. It was a turkey slaughterhouse then. And the bats were still down in the basement, and hooks and all that kind of thing for the turkeys. This area used to have a big turkey day, and there's a picture of the Lincoln County Turkey Day where there's hundreds and hundreds of these birds on the square, and it's just crazy how many that there were around this area. So turkey slaughterhouse. Over the years, it became an ice cream factory, a Red Cross building, furniture store, just different things. And then my mom and dad owned it for the auto parts. And after dad died, mom and my sister tried to keep it open for 2 or 3 years and then had to close it. So everything was shut off. And then the team came in and they got 2 EVPs. I was basically the trigger object that just stood and asked my dad questions and didn't get anything. But they heard this strange, holy mackerel, which nobody in my family ever used. But it was one of those terms that you've heard, like maybe back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, somewhere along in there. So possibly it was from the old ice cream factory. I'm not sure. Not sure at all. And the other EVP they got was from the basement, and it was turkeys clucking. So we had turkey ghosts, whether they were probably, on their worst day ever, and they're clucking and probably screaming clucking. I don't know, but I probably would have been if I was turkey in a slaughterhouse. So I was I was caught right then. I had to find the voices. And so that became what I really wanted to do. And the first piece of equipment after I got my little recorder was a spirit box. And for some reason, it was I could hear the voices coming across the spirit box a little easier than the rest of the team. So it just became what I love to do.
And that's really cool, because it's the team that I'm currently with, like SEPA. We've only been together for just over a year, and I've had 3 really cool EVPs in that time period. 2 of them was in the same cell of a jail, 3 months apart. First time I was by myself. Second time I was with the other 2 guys. Both times didn't hear it with your ears. You only heard it afterwards. And for the first one, I'd got an audio and a camera. For the second one, I'd got my audio device, a camera, and a body camera. So when I first heard it on the video, I went to the other 2 devices, and it was on all 3 devices.
Perfect.
And that was really weird. And the third one's actually a video that I've got of walking through. It's now an office, but it used to be a store. And I'm walking past the table, and then I just hear a psst. And I've got the body cam on, so you can see me moving around. Nobody near me. It wasn't anything electrical. And on both the last 2 occasions, I've got a friend who specializes in audio. Sent it to him, and they came back and go, "Okay, these waves here are your voice. This is the noise you heard. 2 completely separate. So
Nice.
This was not you." And it's like I was so impressed.
Yes.
The fact that I'd got that evidence, and the other guys hadn't, which was really funny. I told them every available opportunity, and that's one of the reasons why I say to people that you have to check every single second of your audio, your video, and whatever other recording devices you've got.
That's right.
So if you had to give a brand new investigator one piece of advice with regard to EVPs, what would you give them? What would you say to them?
I would say, if you're really wanting to catch an audio voice, just get a little digital recorder, take it on investigations, and while you're asking questions, just ask whatever you can think of. Have other people around you ask whatever they can think of. Just don't whisper when you are talking, because that can actually sound like a spirit voice. So no whispering. If somebody burps, farts, whatever, claim it. Say, "I did that, I'm sorry." And because that can sound like a growl, which you would think somebody's going to say, "Oh, that's a demon. You are around a demon." No, my stomach growled.
Yeah.
So, just claim it. Claim every noise. If you shuffle your feet or hit something, claim that. Say, "Oh, that was me." And that way, when you're listening later and you hear a strange noise, and then there's "Oh, that was blah, blah, blah," you can throw that out and move on in your audio.
Exactly. Like I say, and that's exactly what I do. Sort of, if we go into a jail, because the jail's now a museum, it's still got air conditioning, it's still got heating. There's probably a busy road nearby. So as soon as you can eliminate those from your investigation, and if you start doing a few investigations, you know what heating sounds like, you know what air conditioning sounds like, you know what a car sounds like, and you're looking for the weird and bizarre either voices or sounds, and that's what people don't realize, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the most thrilling things is you can hear footsteps coming towards you or going away or overhead or whatever, and you might be sitting next to a teammate still and know that there's no one else around you, but you still have to try to look and find out, is someone sneaking in? Is someone coming up the hallway or whatever? But catching footsteps, I think, is one of the thrilling things. And
Yeah.
it's just, there's so many ways that spirit can try to get your attention. Through electrical means, they can flicker lights, they can come through different electronics, they can just manipulate sounds, honestly. And that's a tough one to get used to, because if someone, like, say you have to crumple up a plastic bag, get rid of it, throw it away, that sound they can actually manipulate into words, and their voice is hidden by something you're doing. And so that's what I found later on, not in the beginning. I didn't find that at all in the beginning. But I started realizing that they can use sound, they can use vibration, they can use frequency, any energy they can use to manipulate into communicating somehow.
Yeah. And one thing that we find is quite successful is doing the Estes method, and we do it with different people. And once you know how to set up the ghost box or your spirit box, whatever you're using, and you tell people, if you hear something, tell us. And then we've got somebody else like documenting that and writing it down. We was at a recent investigation where we found that there was somebody dealing with contraband and stuff like that from like 200 years ago. And we actually got a name, and they knew that people were doing that in the area, but they never have ever had a name.
Wow.
So that was really cool.
Yeah.
But what do you think when people like try and debunk it and say it's power of suggestion, or if it's auditory pareidolia?
I think that everyone should try to debunk everything. Whatever you can, to try to figure out if it was something that can be explained. So you want that. You want to be scrutinized. And I know it hurts sometimes, because you might think, I know exactly what they're saying. Well, somebody comes in and says, but listen, there's a couple of clips out that they're saying it's the same, and I cannot remember where I saw this, but there's a clip out, and it says, if you hear this word, and then you listen to the EVP and you hear that word, and then it says, or do you hear this word? And you listen to the same EVP again, and you hear that second word, and you're like, whoa, how is that possible? So, what I have found on my EVPs are what I have heard. And anyone can listen to my EVPs. They might hear something different, and that's okay. That's okay. This is not an exact science. The only EVPs that are really, really hard to debunk are the class A's. So if you've got a true class A, and it is a clear get out, that's hard to say, oh, that's not get out. That's, they were just saying Kalamazoo, No, they were saying get out. And it was specifically when I first walked into the building. Of course they didn't want me there. Get out. And so you've got to try to figure out, is that exactly what I'm hearing? And when you get to the point of, yes, that's what I'm standing by, and you get a couple of people to listen, if they're close, then that's one thing. You're always going to have skeptics.
Oh, for sure. And one thing that we always do as a team is if we're doing some reviewing, if we hear anything, we will take a snippet of that audio, send it to the group chat, and we don't go, "Can you
Right.
hear Shrader Hill?" For example,
Yes.
we will say, "What do you
What
hear?"
do you hear? Yes.
Yes. And one thing that I always like telling people as well is if you do hear EVPs, it has to be kind of relevant to the investigation.
Yes.
So a perfect example is, and I use this on quite a few of previous podcasts, yeah, if it's Monday and you ask them what day of the week it is and they come back with Monday or any other day of the week, but it's still relevant, it's relevant to the question you just asked.
Right.
Whereas if you ask what day it is and they come back with beefcake or Tennessee, it's not really relevant. Still something to note.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's not relevant to the questioning that you're going on to at that precise time.
Right. And if you get an answer that is not relevant to what you just asked, possibly that's residual.
Exactly. So the question I want to come out with next is if you are recording, do you do the ask a few questions and then play it back, or do you just keep your recorder going? Because like some people do different things. What I do if I'm doing a solo, for example, I will let my tape recorder tells how old I am. My digital recorder for that duration. So if it's 20 minutes, it's 20 minutes. Whereas some of the other team members will ask 2 or 3 questions, stop it, and then play it back to see if you get anything. But you can't always hear it with the playing ears. It's not until you get your headset on that you can hear stuff. So, do you have a preference in what you do?
I use both methods. When I first started out, I was taping everything. So if we were there for 6 hours, I had 6 hours of tape to go over when I got home. If we were there overnight, I had 12 hours or whatever. And it got to be a little monotonous. So what I found was I would go to one room, do a little session, stop that, go to the next area of the location, do another EVP session there. Now, what I do is a combination. So I might have one recorder going the entire time, no matter what. I do a burst session on the others, which I don't like to do more than a minute of the question and answer and just play it back right there. And just to see if I'm getting anything. But the other one is going the entire time.
Yeah, because like I say, yeah, out of the 3 EVPs that I've had, 2 of them I never even heard. And what makes it more interesting is that they're actually quite loud as well.
Yeah.
And the fact that you didn't hear them with your ears, but you hear them on the audio devices and they're loud, that can be like really weird. Because yeah,
Yes.
why didn't you hear it at that precise time?
Exactly. Exactly. And they can also pick who they want it to be heard by. You can have 3 people in the same room, close together, with digital recorders going at the same time, and one person gets an EVP. And why? They just
Yeah.
pick something.
And that was exactly what happened for my second EVP. We was in the cell. It got like the metal tables that you see in jails on the right. On the left was like 5 or 6 cells. I'd got one of my colleagues was talking in the middle. He was about 15, 20 feet away from me. The guy at the end wasn't saying anything, but both of them were recording. I was walking around. I went into the corridor, looked down the corridor, turned round, come back in again, and then I just heard a over. Yeah, this was when I was doing the reviewing, and it did it twice. But I was actually, like I said, I didn't hear anything at the time. The air conditioning, I know for a fact, had been turned off. The other two guys didn't hear it. And it wasn't until I said, guys, I think I've got some. This was like a day or so later. And they went, when was that? So I said, well, yeah, it's when Volta was sat there and Logan was sat there. And you remember when I walked out and came back in again? They went, yeah. I went, that's when it happened. And like, yeah, both of them checked their audio and the recording. Not a thing. And was only like 20, yeah, the closest person was like 20 feet away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
And
really cool.
maybe you had gotten too close to one of the spirit's areas, and he either liked it or he did not.
Yeah. So, and it's really weird because 3 months previous, when we was in the same location, I went off walking by myself in exactly the same cell area. And it was like, it got like a corridor of 20, 30 feet. So you can hear someone coming and then you turn left into this particular area. I was asking for someone to make a sign, make a sound. And I said words to the effect of, I would very much appreciate that. And straight after I finished my sentence, I heard a double breath. And that was like in exactly the same cell. So that was really cool that I had completely two different EVPs in the same location 3 months apart.
It could be too that your energy matches energy that spirit is used to. So whether or not, it was a family member or a friend or whatever, but for some reason your frequency matches what he can relate to. And possibly your other colleagues aren't on that same frequency. So, I
Yeah,
mean, it all comes down to energy.
yeah, and what's really funny is that particular area of that jail is called the Hell's Angels wing. So
Wow.
that makes it even more sort of like curious about, were
Yeah.
they trying to communicate? But this prison, it's in Cornwall in Ontario. There's a lot of activity. People get activity all over the jail, but other people go there and get nothing.
Yeah.
So it's really strange, like you said. So it has to be kind of related to the activity.
Hmm.
So you mentioned the Get Out EVP a while ago, but would you say that you've got your favourites? That when people ask you about EVPs, you always come out and go, "Oh, I did." Like I've got my favourites. Do you have any favourites that you tell people all the time?
I do. I do. I We had this one particular residential that we did, and I am sensitive, so I can tell when something's around me, even though I can't see it all the time. I've only seen 5 or 6 spirits. I haven't seen a lot. I don't see, but I can hear better and feel. So I knew something was around me, and I was just taking pictures before we actually started the investigation. And I said, I know someone is here with me. I'm just taking pictures. Come with me to the next room. And I took pictures in there, and I said, you're still with me. Come with me. And took pictures in the next room. About the third time I said that. Now, I did not hear this live. And most of what I catch, I do not hear live. But when I got home, I found the EVP was this little curmudgeony little old man. He was just done with me. He was done. But after about the third time I said, come with me, he says, I've got a better idea than to follow you around all night.
It's like, what? You must have obviously peed him off.
I,
Definitely.
I, you know, I, he was just done with me. He was done. But I was telling him to come with me, and he was doing it. You know, I saw the strangest thing I've ever seen is this black cloudy thing with eyes floating over me. And I was looking, and I usually see things in reflection instead of straight on. I've only seen a couple of spirits straight on. It's almost like my brain is telling me you're not ready to see them. You're not ready. So, maybe I'm not, but I really would like to. But I see things in reflection like mirrors, a black TV screen, a shiny desk. I was sitting at this shiny desk and this thing floated over me. And I stopped what I was doing and I had my recorder going and I said, I think I saw something, but I don't know. It was the weirdest looking thing, like a cloud with eyes, a black cloud with eyes. And I looked up and of course I didn't see it. But I was looking all around and the EVP I got later was it was me.
That's cool.
Yeah. So they had actually, this was at an old business in town and they're still in business. The place was built back in the 1800s and added on. And they've been haunted for a long, long time. And it's a trickster in there that likes to scare the customers or the workers. And I I wanted to find that particular spirit for them. This spirit is so blatant that they caught it on camera crawling up into a desk chair, and it turns and looks directly at the camera. It knows where the cameras are. It knows when the people come to work. It knows when a customer comes in. It knows. They've caught footsteps. They've caught it as a shadow figure. They've caught it as a wisp of smoke. They've caught it as a staticky, on the camera, they caught a staticky thing with eyes. And I saw the cloud with eyes. So it just appears in different ways. And it was there. I actually turned my recorder on before I ever stepped inside. So he was there the entire time I stepped in until we left. And
Wow.
when I got up from that desk to go into another part of the business, I said, I'm going to the kitchen area where my husband and my high school friend who worked at the place and his son were sitting. And this entity said, "Where are we going?" And I said, I didn't hear that again. And I said, I'm going to the kitchen. And while I'm walking down the hallway toward the kitchen, this thing goes, we're running, 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 running.
That's awesome.
It's just, you never know what you're going to come up with. You never know.
Yeah. And I do think that in this day and age, people are far too quick to debunk stuff like that. Because I know when we started working together as a team, we were getting audio and it's like, what's that? Well, it could be this. And we just brush it off.
Right.
Where now we've realized when we've sort of like slowed down, taken a back step, and we're listening to things, we are actually hearing what we think are whispers or what we think are words. And it's really weird because people go, well, do you think it's a ghost? And we go, we never ever say it's a ghost.
Right.
We always say we put it on the unexplained pile.
Mm-hmm.
We have two piles: explained, car going past air conditioning, as I mentioned earlier, and this is unexplained.
Yeah.
And there's only so many tests, audio tests, and that kind of stuff that you can do professionally before you go, okay, I've done all my tests. I've got no idea what that was. That's going to stay on the unexplained pile.
Right. And that's in your could be paranormal pile.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
we don't know who exactly that was speaking. If we're having a seance, say we're at a seance and we hear Great Aunt Ruth come through and say she wants her tea or whatever. Is it Great Aunt Ruth or is it a mimic?
That's it. You just don't know.
And you don't.
Okay. So, being the founder of Elk Valley Paranormal. And I think it's really funny that the initials are EVP, which we've been talking about tonight. That's a coincidence, obviously. What would you say has been your most favourite investigation in the time that you've been investigating?
Oh, my most favorite. We've had a lot of investigations at the old hospital here and gotten a lot of evidence from that place. I guess that's the one I've had the most at. Favorite? I'm going to have to say Birdcage Theater is my favorite place I've been that's haunted. But I was not investigating. I was just walking through, and you know how when you walk through somewhere, how things feel differently. Some's heavy, some are, there's a shift in energy somehow. All of a sudden something's dark or darker and you can't quite breathe as well. Or, that was my favorite place to be because I just love that whole story. Tombstone, when Val Kilmer played Doc. That's one of my favorite movies. And so to actually go out there and be in that area was fun.
That's cool. Okay, so we're basically coming towards the end of the podcast. So I'm going to now hand it over to you for any final words that you would like to tell us.
Okay.
Put you on the spot.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Just be open when you're going in to investigate. Be respectful because you're actually going into, even if the building is abandoned, that was someone's place of existence at one time, whether they live there, whether they work there, or whatever. But be respectful because it's still their place. And you wouldn't want someone just barging into your home saying, anyone here? So be respectful. Be safe. Protect yourself at all costs in whatever your belief system is. And it doesn't hurt to have extras, such as crystals and taking a little bit of rock salt or throwing a little salt in your shower, white light yourself, meditate, any of the above, prayers. It doesn't matter. It's whatever you are most comfortable doing, but do it and do it every time. When you're speaking with spirit, the very most important thing ever is to close your session. So if you're speaking on a spirit box or you're just asking questions on recorder, always say, I am either thank you for speaking with us, we're done now, goodbye, or, whatever. But make sure you close any session. And that can be with a Ouija board. If you're safe with a Ouija board, spirit box, whatever, however you're talking with spirit, copper rods, pendulum, or just speaking out into the room, protect yourself in the session, say thank you, goodbye.
That's really funny because as you were going through that, I'm going, yep, I do that. I do that. I do that. I do that. Like one of the things that I do, I actually apologize. Say, because if it's a popular location, I go, look, I know people come each week. I know people always ask the same questions. And I apologize all the time, and it's really, really funny.
But it's nice to do that.
It is. It just means that you were being respectful. Okay, then, Cyn. Well, thank you for chatting. It's been very enlightening, and I'm very. So, for all the listeners, Cyn did promise that she was going to wear a ball gown and tiara. However, her excuse was that she had lost it. So, I'm not going to hold that against her on this occasion. But if there's any other time that you fancy coming back and chatting about something else, you are most welcome to come back. I'm sure the listeners will enjoy it as much as what I have done tonight.
I would love to come back and talk about anything you would like to talk about. Let's do it.
That sounds like a plan. Okay, Cyn, I appreciate it. Thanks very much. Take care.
Thank
Bye bye.
you.